Damn, you're furry. Why'd you have to jump in my lap right before I started streaming? Why'd you have to jump in my lap right before I started streaming? And you're filled with just season-changing fur. Ugh, cat. All right, so today we're going to be, besides discussing the fact that my cat is losing 3 pounds in my lap right now, we are going to, every time summer comes around and the temperature goes up in my apartment 10 or 15 degrees, little Blackberry here decides to lose 15 pounds right in my lap. But today we're going to be talking about the importance of paying yourself a salary if you're a small business owner. Now, this comes from a comment that I got a while ago from somebody who I think misunderstood a couple of aspects of the video that I did. I did this video on investing in yourself about 3 or 4 years ago, where I talked about the importance of investing in yourself rather than just going out and buying all, the nicest new smartphone and having to have 2 cars instead of 1 and this, that, and the other. And the whole idea there is that if I invest in my business and you don't, and you fail, I don't really feel that bad for you because I was the one living in a dump apartment with crap, with a flip phone and eating like $2 meals and all that crap, so that I could afford to someday, have a better business. But at the same time, I do believe there comes a point where you do have to start paying yourself a salary. And if that point comes and you're not paying yourself a salary, that you may be trying to hide from yourself the fact that your business is not as successful as you want it to be, and that you're also using not paying yourself a salary as a means to put off fixing that which is wrong with your business. So change is always painful. Whether it's dietary change, lifestyle changes, changes in business model, learning something new so we could do a new job, change always sucks. And typically, the only thing that's going to push us to change is a pain point. So when something hurts, when there's an ow. And there is little that's more painful as a business owner than writing checks that go out of your business's bank account. So if you're writing a check to yourself every single month, a dividend check or whatever, if you're writing yourself a check every single month of a sizable amount, that is a pain point to your business. Thanks for the advice the other night. Ow, that was loud. Yes, thanks for taking it. But if it made sense, that is. But my point is, this is distracting. What's up, Blackberry? Show everybody on camera how cute you are. Mwah! An adorable little kitty. Anyway, so there is very little that's more painful as a business owner than having 5 pounds of cat hair come off in your lap. But the second most painful thing as a business owner is having to write checks that go out of your bank account. So if you're writing checks for a sizable amount of money each month, that is going to be a pain point. That is going to hurt your business in some sense. Obviously, your business, excluding yourself, your business would be better off if you were not writing yourself a sizable check every month. So when you add that pain point there, it then forces you to reflect on what you're doing as a business and figure out if everything makes sense. So if you're not able to write yourself a check, and I don't mean it just a check to cover just your bare living expenses like your apartment, your car payment, and food, but I mean enough that you could start putting money away, like real savings away. If you can't write yourself that check, then it forces you to ask yourself, why can't I do that? Is it my business is not viable? Do I have an employee that's not really doing their job that I'm paying just because I kind of feel bad for them and firing people is kind of difficult for me? Is it because you're avoiding a segment of the market just because you don't want to get into it because you're afraid of the potential pitfalls, or you're afraid of having to learn something new? Do you have $5 or $10 or $15,000 worth of crap at your business that if you just cleaned up and put for auction, you could make that money back? And when you're not writing yourself a check every month, it's really easy to overlook these things. It's really easy to say, I'll get to it tomorrow. That doesn't really matter. The business is doing fine. But if you can't pay yourself, somewhere between $50,000 to $150,000 a year as a business owner, and you're not doing that, it's really easy for those things to go by the wayside. Because obviously, all these little inefficiencies, the employees that don't do their job, the customers that you're not serving, the widgets that you have sitting in your basement that if you sold would go for $15,000 or $20,000, it's easy to ignore those if you don't have to make more money. And you will have to make more money if you pay yourself a real salary. So I find that paying myself a real salary forces me to take my business seriously, and it also forces me to look at all the little inefficiencies. It forces me to look, if I find it's difficult to pay myself 1 month, hey, so what did we make last year at this time? Okay, And what do we make this year at this time? Okay, we made the same amount of money, but wait, why did we spend $20,000 on this? Okay, what did we spend $20,000 on? Oh, we spent $20,000 on that. Okay, did we get a return of investment on whatever that is? And then you go, oh wait, we made no return on investment on that. Why is that? Is it because this employee hasn't done their job? Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. Or if they have done their job, it's just a bad idea. Figure out if you could sell that $20,000 of equipment and get that money back so that you could pay yourself. It forces you to be lean. It forces you to be thinking. And if you're always paying yourself a salary, it forces you to stay on top of every aspect of your business because it gives you that pain point. And again, people aren't going to learn. They're not going to change. They're not going to analyze. And they're not going to do difficult work if there isn't that pain point behind them. And I find all too often that people, instead of admitting that they're doing something wrong, I feel this is kind of popular in modern day, particularly among people in my age group, is that instead of admitting that we're doing something wrong, we have this habit of turning a vice into a virtue. I'm not doing, I am not, it's not that I'm eating a bad diet. It's that I am body positive. It's not that I'm eating 4,000 calories a day of garbage. I'm just body positive. Cholesterol is positive. You take the vice and you turn it into a virtue. You take the thing that is going to fucking kill you young and turn it into something good. And the same thing occurs here. I'm going to take that laziness. I'm going to take that inability to gauge whether my business is viable. I'm going to take that lack of thirst and hunger for new ideas and new and new income. I'm going to take that lack of drive to go through my QuickBooks every single day to make sure everything makes sense, and I'm just going to call it investing in my business. I'm not going to pay myself a salary because I invest it all back into my business. And again, my question to you is, are you really investing it all back into your business? Are you really growing as a result of the fact that you're not paying yourself a respectable salary? Or is that just a line of bullshit that you tell yourself so that you can feel good about the fact that your business is not making the money it's supposed to, and also that you just don't have the time, inclination, or motivation to make it work? Let's see. Xanax says, why would you be so dramatic and say to Jessa to delete your channel when you're gone? For me, it's a sign of attention seeker. For me, a sign of attention seeker is people that make outlandish comments and accusations of other people. Why did I read these comments? The cancer is spreading to Twitch. If you believe I'm an attention seeker, you can click the unsubscribe button and I go away. Okay, on to reading good comments. Let's see. Miles is here. TCRS is here. Perfect timing, driving home from airport, need entertainment. With the amount of liquor that I imagine everybody was consuming in that Nashville conference, are you sure you're okay to drive, Michael? Are you sure you're okay to drive? It kind of scares me. I have no employees except me, myself, and I. Very Beyonce of you. How junk are the $56 hot air stations? I'm about to find out because my WHA 900 heating element is dead, and now I figured out why I was putting off getting a new one. Dude, there is not a single website on the internet that I can find that sells the heating element. There's not a single PDF, not anything that I can find that even has a part number for that damn thing. And the JVC heating element is like $210. That is, let's see. Stream is choppy. I have 0 dropped frames. My boss always told me you only start to care when it hurts your wallet. I agree. So I have no right to say what I think. Oh, you can always say what you think, as I can have the right to not care. Let's see. Damn, Lewis never believes us. With good reason. Often trolling. My measure of success is if you can even afford good health insurance and still have positive numbers on your business, things are going well. I think you're in attention. Okay, I don't care. Your opinion is literally worthless to me. That is, I could care less. I think you're arrogant. Okay, you could probably care less as well. Your advice was to take my new tech channel to other places. I started doing live shows. Awesome. Did one the other night on Google phishing scam that hit this week. Stream is 3 frames per second. Ah, mofo. There's no internet here either. Tell me I have bad internet here too. Between my apartment and here, and work, I pay something like $500 a month for both for internet. And it sucks. It sucks. All right, let's see. Can you change frame rate on the fly with Open Broadcaster? Looks like you can change frame rate on the fly with Open Broadcaster. Let's see. Dead on accurate advice. I've run companies for 16 years. Took me embarrassingly long to figure this out. Yep. Yeah, because I remember in the beginning, I never paid myself a salary. I had like one bank account that I was using to pay for almost everything. And if I paid myself a salary, there was a good chance that at any given time, a check could come out of there, or I would need to spend on something, or there'd be a rent check or something from Con Edison that would come out of my bank account. So I couldn't afford to pay myself a salary in 2008 or 9 because I was dead broke. Like I started with $250, and I needed to use the $250 that I made to buy parts, to advertise, to buy tools, this, that, and the other. So in the beginning, you're not going to be able to pay yourself a salary. In the first month that you open, that's totally cool. But the one thing that's good about when you first open is that when you first open a business, assuming you're not opening it on savings, if you're opening it with your last $260 like I was, if you're opening a business at that point, it keeps you, how do I put this? It keeps you grounded in that you know that whatever ideas you have or whatever it is that you're doing, you need to make back that money in 30 days. Whatever I invest in, I need to make back my money within 30 days. I need to be able to, if I buy an ultrasonic cleaner, I need to make enough money using that ultrasonic cleaner to pay my rent at the end of the month because I used my rent money to pay for the cleaner. If I buy a soldering iron, I need to buy something where whatever investment I make in 30 days, that money needs to return to me, or my gas is turning off, my electricity is turning off, and I'm getting kicked out of my apartment. But once you get to the point where you have a little bit of money in the bank, you have to be honest with yourself at some point. If you've been in business for a year and a half, or 2.5 years, or 3 years, there is absolutely no reason that you should not be paying yourself a salary. And if you cannot get a business off the ground in a year and a half or 2 years to the point where you can pay yourself a salary, then you have to look at your business and figure out what it is you're doing wrong. So, in the first month, you're not going to be able to pay yourself a salary unless you start. You're not going to be able to pay yourself a salary in the first month or so unless you got a huge loan or investment from somebody. But if you did, but how do I put this? Yeah, you're not going to be able to. But if you did, then after a while, you got to ask yourself if you're doing something wrong. Did you write a formal business plan? No, business plans are the biggest waste of time. Seriously, it is the biggest waste of time, and here's why. How do you know if people are willing to buy what it is you sell? So you can come up with all these numbers in your head. Like there are 600,000 people that own this product, and 3% of them break them. And of those 3% that break them, there's 5 stores, which means that I'll get this many customers, But what if you're on a street that nobody walks down? What if nobody cares to go to you over the other places? What if what you're selling just sucks? Or what if you think it's valuable, but it's not? Writing business plans, in my experience, is a complete waste of time. And that whole saying, like, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, is mostly said by people that just don't know business. And in my opinion, other people can disagree. I've never planned for something and actually had it go the way I wanted. Like, I planned the supply company. There are so many things that I've planned that just went to complete shit. Because it isn't until you actually are engaged in whatever it is you're doing, it's not until you're engaged in the actions of whatever it is you're looking to do that what was I just saying? It's not until you're engaged in whatever it is you're looking to do that you're going to actually know how it works. You can talk all you want about wanting to sell web hosting services of this quality for this price, but it's not until you offer it that you figure out if anybody is actually going to buy it. So what I would say is once you are actually selling something, then you can come up with plans on how to make it better afterwards. Once you've sold 20 of something, you can talk about how that you can then sell 100 of it or 1,000 of it or 10,000 of it or how you can scale. But until you've started, planning is just is a complete waste of time. You have no idea how anything is going to go, and it's all just imaginary horse crap. Only reason to write a business plan is if you're trying to con a bank or venture capital into giving you money. Paul Daniels always has the best comments. He genuinely has the best comments. Let's see. At what point a business is it worth getting a website? And should you pay money for a good one? Ooh, good one. So I felt stupid every time I've paid for a website. So my first website in like 2008 was nothing but a green backdrop. And then I went into Microsoft Word, and then I created a table with prices. And then I copied that table into an eBay HTML editor, which is just garbage. And then I clicked the HTML tab on eBay and copied and pasted that into my website. And you can imagine, this looked like trash. It was literally a little table from Microsoft Word that I created, my phone number at the top with a JPEG picture of a clip art sheep. This was the worst fucking website that you can imagine. And that website made me, first, like in the beginning, it made me like $100 a week. Then the next time it made me $200 a week. Then the next week it made me $400 a week. Then the next week it made me $800 a week. And then once it made me $1,000 a week, I said, you know what? Let me focus a little less on the college and a little bit more on the this. Because for me, you know, a lot of people are going to scream and go, that's not a lot of money, you're an idiot. Or, oh my God, you make that much. It's always something. But for me, $1,000 a week is the point at which I can take an idea seriously. Once whatever idea that I've come up with is making $1,000 a week, whatever that idea is, I then look at it like more than a hobby or more than a side project, and I can say, okay, I should put some resources into this. So once it was making $1,000 a week, I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna get a real website. I'm gonna have a real designer design me a real website. And I had a real designer design me a real website. I looked at Google Analytics. I did not get more views. My bounce rate did not change. My conversion rate did not change. My income at the time did not change. Here's what you need with a website. You need a website. Oh, God, did I just say that out loud? Did I just say that out loud, Barry? You need a website. Oh, God. I even said it in the Wix voice, too. Sadly. You need a website. God damn it. I can't get through that statement without laughing. You need a website that... I can't help it. I can't help it. I hear that guy's voice and I just want to fucking punch him every time I say it. You need... I can't. Okay, let's try this again. You need a website that informs customers on what it is you offer and answers their questions before they've asked them. Because most of the time, customers are not going to contact you to have their questions answered. They're just going to click they're going to open 5 different websites in 5 different tabs, and they're going to go to the first business that answers them. So you need to know what the questions are that your customers are asking, and then you need to answer those questions before they've asked them. And some of the best ways to do that are just to ask people questions when you meet them, whether you're designing software for them, or you're fixing their car, or you're fixing something, whatever the hell it is your business is engaged in. Ask them open-ended questions and see how they answer them. And then ask them about what some of their concerns were, how they chose you, this, that, and the other. Feel free. Feel free to ask all these questions. Most of the time, they'll be happy to answer. And then put the answers to those questions on the front page of your website so they're answered before they have an opportunity to leave. I find that that is much more important than having fancy design. And again, I've spent nothing on a website. I've spent $50 on a website. I've spent $500 on a website. I've spent $7,000 on a website. And I can tell you from cold, hard experience that I've never seen a change in sales based on the theme or how professional the website looks. I've never noticed any differences in these things. What I've noticed a difference in is when I answer people's questions and I watch them navigate the website and I figure out how it is they come to whatever conclusions they have. What I just... Not conclusions. I figure out how it is they navigate to find the information they need. I find out what frustrates them, and then I create the website accordingly. Having a website that answers people's questions is important, and I find so many people focus on the wrong crap. What theme do I use? What colors do I use? Should I have regular pages or that infinite scrolly thingy that's ADHD friendly? How should I design it? And that part, it's I'm going to piss people off, but it doesn't really matter that much. What really matters is, does it answer people's questions? And that's that. So for me personally, can I afford to get a much nicer website than I have now? Yes, I can. Do I want to spend money on it, knowing what the return on investment is for redesigning it? I sure as shit don't. My father has a startup print newspaper that hasn't turned a profit in over a year, but he loves it and is putting his retirement into it. How can I help him or give him advice? Well, I think the problem is people associate profit with greed, and I wouldn't. And you got to kick people out of that. Profit is not just about greed. It's a scorecard, in some senses, not all senses, but in sometimes profit is a scorecard. Do people want to pay for what you have to offer? If nobody is willing to pay a dime for whatever it is you're offering, then you have to ask yourself how valuable what you're offering is. I would say see it as a scorecard rather than, as some greedy, evil, capitalistic blah blah blah. Are you still using the Wagner at the store? No comment. No comment. Weller goes through a lot of effort to make sure you can't find a heating element to the WHA 900. Hi. Mm-hmm. Have local regulations ever caused a hindrance to your business? I wouldn't say regulations so much as the constant requirement to get licenses for everything. The licenses waste a lot of time. And I would be okay with a license if, like, for example, I have to pay $350 to get an electronics dealer license or a home or service center license, whatever it was. If they tested my proficiency with a multimeter, if they asked me if I knew what a multimeter was, if they asked me if I knew the difference between voltage and current, I'd say fine. The only requirement to get these licenses is you go down to the city. You go down to the city building, you give them your fingerprints, you give them $350, and then 6 to 12 weeks later, they mail you a license. Which is really lame. Which is, in my opinion, that's just incredibly lame. You're not actually... And most of the state licenses are like that. It's not about whether you're a good business. It's not about whether you know what the hell you're doing. It's just a way for them to make money. Is Squarespace actually good? I've never used it. I made the mistake of spending too much on the website with my first business. Yeah. Again, what you want to do is you want to put in the minimal effort required to figure out if people are interested in your product. If they're interested in your product, they won't care that the website looks like it was designed by a 13-year-old. They're not going to care if you don't have a fancy office. They're not going to care if you don't have 20 employees. If you have a product that people actually want, figure that part out first, and then you can go for the fancy website and all that other shit. But the first thing that you need to do is actually find out whether whatever it is you're selling is worth it now. Lewis, I bet you're still using the Wagner at the store. No comment. No comment. Okay, now I'm wondering if it's my laptop, the internet, or YouTube. Or all of the above. Let's see. What if I change this one setting? There we go. Was networking with other people in your business, in your industry, important to the development of your business? No, not at all. Well, what I did in the beginning, this was really just about people Googling like their problem, and then whatever result comes up first, they click. And if whoever answers the phone, call first. Mm-hmm. Do you need a website? Do you need a website? Oh, that's going to be stuck in my head for the next week. That's going to be stuck in my head for a while. Found my next video topic, thanks Lewis. What idea did I give you? Oh, I gave somebody an idea. I guarantee those boards Lewis took a Wagner to will come back. No, they won't. No, they won't. I know why, because when I started, and that was what I was using with a fucking funnel, I was using a Wagner heat gun with a funnel, which gave me a 10 millimeter nozzle, and none of those came back. And I sucked way worse back then than I am now. Do you require technicians to be A+ certified? No, I require people to not be A+ certified. If you got an A+, it demonstrates a fundamental lack of understanding on return on investment and the industry as a whole. If you got an A+, what that tells me is I paid $350 for a piece of paper that is totally worthless without Googling to figure out that that paper is totally worthless. Yeah, if somebody says, I have an A+, like it's a good thing, I immediately back away. I immediately back away. That's scary. Let's see. Isn't this the element? Doesn't show up in searches because it's out of stock on their site. It's great to see that Weller doesn't have a heating element in stock for their own $650 iron. Come on, you can do it. You can load. What's your advice for SEO? Again, just make a website that people want to read. A big part of it is bounce rate. If people are just clicking on your website and leaving it, a second later, if that's the case, then you're going to have shitty SEO. Because Google wants you to have a website that people actually want to read. So I included as much information on my site as possible related to questions that people had actually asked me. In this day and age, what do you feel is the best advertising method? Honestly, guerrilla type marketing. Like, I don't mean like, you making a bunch of fake bullshit ass posts on Reddit or whatever. But whatever it is you do, doing business in a way where people on sites like Reddit or other forums or message boards just recommend you for whatever reason. I think that's slowly going to become more important than SEO. But yeah, being on top of Google is helpful. A+. What the fuck? I don't care if somebody knows how many Firewire 400 devices are daisy chainable. Michael Oberdick, do you care if your technicians know how many Firewire 400 devices are daisy chainable? The A+ is such a pile of shit. It's such a useless pile of shit. It's like just the fact that that question is even on it just shows you what a useless pile it is. What's your biggest regret that has to do with this business? That's too general a question. Biggest regret is too general a question. My biggest regret is not having more money in the beginning, but can't really change much about that. Like when I look at my store, it looks like a store of a business owner that started with $200. Like everything is done ass backwards. Like the camera wires are not. I mean, I gotta find a picture of this somewhere where I was down to like my last $50, last 40 or $50 until my next merchant services deposit, and and the old door broke off. So while we were doing the construction, so I needed to get a door. I go to Home Depot and the doors are the only door I can get for under $50 is a fucking patio door. So for months, for like 6 months, my store had a patio door that you couldn't even see through. It looked like what you would find in the side of some shack house in the middle of nowhere. And I wrote 186 on it with a Sharpie. So yeah, I regret not being rich in the beginning. Design on web can influence sales and conversion. It can, but again, if you start off with $500 and you can spend that on anything, and you put that $500 into a website, then you're just fucked. You're fucked. Like I can show Google Analytics because I've been using Google Analytics since 2009. I could go back to each time I've changed my website, and you won't see a change. When I change content, you will see change in bounce rate, change in views. But if I change the design, I will never see a change in bounce rate or a change in views. I think too many people focus on making a site that looks a certain way rather than making a site that answers the paranoid questions people have. And I guess in our business in repair, this is particularly important because everybody walking in the door thinks they're going to get ripped off. Everybody walking in the door wants to know how much something is or what it is you're doing, and giving them that little feeling of transparency goes a long way. Which heat gun do you recommend for board repair? What a troll! What a troll! If you shipped a lot of packages from home, would you get a P.O. box to put for the return address, or you wouldn't mind showing your home address? I used to use, not a P.O. box, I used to use a mail store. I used to use a mail store for that, just because when I was receiving packages, I would not want to stay home all day. It's insane to have to stay home the entire day and not be able to do anything for that. So I was using the address of the mail store. How should I do it from home if I don't want strangers coming to my house? Do you want to make money or do you want to worry about strangers? It depends on what business you're doing. I used to meet people in a park. Lewis is professional, not wild PCS. Damn straight. If anybody's going to fix boards with a Wagner heat gun perfectly, it's me. I'll make that Wagner heat gun. He says you work 7 days a week, 350 plus days a year, and for that 10 hours for 4 years. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. And I guess that's another point that's worth bringing up. The same thing is true with time. If you let's say you give yourself, let's say you how do I put this? Let's say you're inefficient at whatever it is you're doing. If you're inefficient, then it's easy to say, I will work the entire day, and this is another thing where we're turning a vice into a virtue. I will work for 16 hours. I'm so dedicated to my business and what I'm doing that I will work 16 hours. Now, let's say you limit yourself. Let's say you say, okay, I need to get everything that I need done in 4 hours, not 16, because I have other shit to do. Then it forces you to become more efficient. Am I doing work or am I browsing Twitter? Am I fixing the board or am I staring at something on the board that I think is cool? Am I shopping for exactly what I need or am I just looking at other stuff just to see what's on the market? I find that a lot of people will say that they work 80 hours a week and they don't work 80 hours a week. They're incredibly inefficient. And again, instead of addressing the gross inefficiency, they will just say, I am doing the virtuous, responsible thing of working all the time, when in reality, they could do that work in 4 hours, but that would require addressing or creating a pain point. The pain point is having to get your work done in 4 hours, giving yourself a deadline. And it's similar to the salary thing. Once you say, I need to make this much a month out of the business, it creates the pain point of having to pay out of the business, meaning that you have to figure out how to make the business more money. In the beginning, I did work, ridiculous hours all the time, but that was because I wanted to turn my little $200 into, a lot more than $200. This is a Sennheiser MKE 600. Blackberry, why are you shedding so much? Why are you shedding so much? It's cold outside today. You should stop shedding. You're going to wish you had that hair back. Michael Oberdick says, no certifications here, prefer no one to have them for the same reason. Yeah. Where's your Southern comfort? Far, far away. I'm asking if you'd like to grow it more than you already are. This business, not really. Not really. Again, a lot of people think I'm ridiculous with this. I genuinely do not see repair in the form that it is being here the way that it is like 5 or 10 years from now. So I busted my ass to get a store that has over 600 people walking in it a day. I've got a great team of people, and now I really just want to take the resources that I have and use that to make as much money as possible. without having to grow and open 10 or 20 or 50 stores or anything like that. If I move into something, I don't mind moving into other businesses or other fields, and I'll add stuff to this one, like like selling other parts, or like selling chipsets, or doing work for schools. This that let's say because there's this one school in the Bronx that's called, and they've left us a lot of stuff. I'll say yes to all that, but in terms of like opening 10 stores or no, I have no plans for that. I have a plan to take pretty much, because I've had the experience of businesses that did well, and I've had the experience of putting 12 to 16 hours a day and all my money and my livelihood into something that just completely fell away and crashed. I've had both of those experiences. So I have a lease that ends in 2023. I want to put all my effort into extracting as much as I can out of what I've created. And in 2023, when the place goes away, of moving into my mansion on the top of a mountain. And hey, I know the internet on the mansion on the top of the mountain is not going to be that great, but it's a good thing I have Time Warner at work, because I've been getting fucking used to it over the past 5 years. We're trolling you with A+. I hope so. I remember taking the A+ to wave the piece of paper at some shitty job so they would hire me. I can't tell you how many tech places where I live list that as a mandatory requirement. Okay, here's my follow-up question. So, of all the places that require you have an A+ to get the job, how many of them pay a living wage? How many of those places that say to get this job you need an A+ pay you a living wage? Probably not. I think Wild PCS will use your video and show their students, look, this guy knows how to use a heat gun, you can too. How do you handle a customer trying to negotiate price? I just send them somewhere else. That's the thing, I don't argue back and forth. There's no reason to argue. I just refer them to some place that's cheaper. Now, if they truly want the price to go down and that is the only thing that's important to them, then they will leave and go to the place that's cheaper. However, if they came to our business because they wanted us doing the work, because they trusted us, because they implicitly don't like whatever practices the other businesses have, then they will say, I don't really want to go there, I'll just pay you. So that works. Again, that comes back to the pain point. If somebody doesn't want to use the cheaper person because they know the cheaper person's going to fuck it up, when you say, no, unfortunately, I can't help you with that, go to this place, here's their address, they're cheaper. And I literally have papers on my desk. These are pre-printed little labels that say, no, but this place can do it cheaper. No, but this place can do it cheaper. No, but you can go to L2. If that person knows what L2 computer is, the second I give them it, they'll be like, nah, and they'll come back. So it's about the pain point. They pay me $38,000 a year. Okay. I'm not going to get a certification to make middle management salary at a KFC. I'm just not. What qualifies you to speak about the topic? The fact that you're sitting in front of what looks like a brick wall and have a ThinkPad and an internet connection. Well, I have two of the above. I have a brick wall and a ThinkPad, but I don't think this is an internet connection. I wouldn't call this an internet connection. But good try with just throwing up some cancer into that chat. Every chat needs its cancer. I make more than you. Oh, so you know what I make. That means you've hacksered my bank account. Oh no, I've been hacksered. Oh no. Quick, let me go to my banking website. Let me go to my QuickBooks. Somebody doxed me. Why ban the guy? I needed a dose of AIDS. No. Keep the Hep C out of there. What do you think of that new BlackBerry? I love BlackBerry. I don't like the fact that she's shedding so much. But, you know, she'll probably look a little nicer when she's done. Have you ever built a custom computer for a client? Never. No. Go to Dell.com or Lenovo.com. There's no point to that. Maybe in 1999, yeah. But like it's 2017. It's like, yeah, it's 2017. Yeah. The days of me building computers for people, the days of anybody paying computers for people is like, you want to pay a kid 20 an hour for flipping burgers? I said management, not flipping burgers. I said management. I said. Do you think Apple repairs will move 100% to motherboard repairs as they keep soldering more? Are we not already there? In 2008, the backlight circuit was not an inverter board, but soldered onto the motherboard. 2012, and the RAM was soldered onto the motherboard. 2016, the SSD and the Wi-Fi is soldered onto the motherboard. Like, it's a motherboard. Like, that's what it is. You have a plan, sounds like a business plan. That's a plan after you start a business. The concept of a business plan that most people have is, I'm going to write up a plan sitting in my apartment while I'm just eating potato chips before I've had any idea how my business works. So before I've even gone into business, before I've sold a single thing, I'm going to write 17 pages of exactly how it's going to work. And I find that fails. If you want to plan after you've sold something, if you want to plan after you've made money, after you've opened, after you've provided service to people, by all means, plan. But when people decide that instead of actually doing something, that they're just going to sit at home and write 17 pages of plans on how the real world is going to work before they've been in it, I would say that is a bad idea. Do you ever buy a fancy car such as a 100K plus? Hell no. The most expensive car I think I would ever buy if I learned how to drive would be a Jetta. How do you feel about raising minimum wage? No, it's too high as is. The best minimum wage is 0. The 2 internships that I had, since they were not for college credit, would technically be illegal because you need to pay interns minimum wage here. So the 2 jobs that taught me how to deal with customers, that taught me how to manage my time, that taught me how to manage money, that taught me how to work on electronics, that taught me how to diagnose electronics when there are people paying $3,000 a day staring down your neck, all of those opportunities were opportunities that were skirting the law and that would be illegal under current minimum wage law. So I would say $0 minimum wage. And again, it doesn't really make much of a difference because people are just going to break the law anyway. Like I probably, I don't think I was breaking the law. I think that the people that employed me at that unpaid internship that was not for college credit were breaking the law. But people are just going to break it. I mean, you can set it to whatever you want. It just means that people are going to break the law. You are going to trigger some burn victims. Yeah. Oh, well. And it's an odd discussion because anytime I say that, anytime I bring these things up, people are like, you're an asshole, capitalist, blah, 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 that wants to see people fail. It's like, I have jobs where like the starting pay is $20 an hour, like this the beginning, which is almost 3 times the minimum wage here. It doesn't mean that I want to pay people that. It just means that I acknowledge that the opportunities that I had would technically be illegal under current minimum wage law. So, what is a living wage in New York? Depends on the standard of living that you want. Depends on your standard of living. But you say how you are making this fortune then. You don't really need a fortune to retire in a mansion in a mountain. If you want a mansion in like a skyscraper mountain in Manhattan, sure. What do you think of universal basic income? I think it's an excellent idea. Let's pay people for doing nothing. That won't erode the fabric of society at all. It's a great idea. That's a great idea. Let's pay people for doing nothing. So your informative thought on marijuana. It's too general a question. Too general a question. Why am I doing this thing where I'm trying to read to the end of the chat? Robert King says, Ashley, hate to break it to you, but building PCs is not a skill. It's assembly. Yeah. I got my point across half an hour ago, and I'm still sitting here scrolling. This guy thinks he's rich, yet still streaming on Twitch. Ah, yes, because you have to have less than $100 in your bank account. Because, like, Twitch integrates with Chase, so they actually ask to authenticate my account to Chase, and if I have more than $100, they say you are not allowed to share your opinions with other people. That is... You should code that API. I think that would be a great idea. You should code that API. Yeah, building PCs is not a skill. And I hate when I hear people say, you'll learn how they work by... No, you won't. You're not going to learn how a computer works by assembling it. You're plugging a power supply into a motherboard. You're putting RAM into the motherboard. You're putting the CPU into the motherboard. You're hooking up fans, and then you plug in the hard drive. Do you know what the S5, S4, and SO power states are? Do you know what the importance of an RTC clock is? Do you understand how any of the code executes? Do you understand how to program a BIOS? Do you understand anything about how a computer works from just plugging shit in? Fuck if I know. I mean, I don't even understand how half of that shit works. Cancer has made its way to Twitch. It was bound to happen eventually. $13.50 an hour is not a high wage. Yeah, that's not much at all. That's an oversimplification on building computers. Okay, so you can... That's, I feel like a lot of the fad of building computers is about like feeling like it's kind of like building a hot rod, you know? It's like I'm going to take the time to pick everything out. I'm going to take the time to choose each individual component and to get this performance and this, that, for this price. It's cool, but it doesn't teach you exactly how a computer works. What do you think repair shops should do to adapt in the next few years? Good one. That's a good question. I think that it's just a fundamental requirement that people do board repair. Like, I mean, I have when a store sends me a machine to do for like an LED driver or a fuse replacement, that just makes me sad. That is so 2009. That is so 2009. Building a hot rod is also a lot harder than building a computer. Point taken. But yeah, but it's the same concept. It's like the excitements of customizing your own thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get you somewhere. Like, I just feel bad for people that think that they're going to make their millions by building PCs. Because, I mean, it's just not going to happen. Like, the only people that make money, the only people that are actually making livings for themselves building PCs, like real livings, are the people that are doing it on YouTube and the people that are sponsored by the companies. Like, if you're sponsored by Corsair and OCZ and whatever the hell, and Cooler Master and Antec, then maybe you'll make money building PCs. Otherwise, just no. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that you're going to make money building computers. Just stop. A+ and building computers, no. If you want to do it as a hobby, I respect that. Have fun. It can be an incredible hobby. But for fuck's sake, do not think that you're going to be making that. No. If you started in the 90s, sure. If you're Falcon, fine. But if you're just like a regular person, please don't. Please don't. Please don't. Please don't. I beg of you. Oh yeah, but for repair shops in the future, like you just got to know how to do that stuff. Like for me, I know that I'm never going. I mean, I started my business before I knew how to do a lot of the board repairs that I do. But I know that I'm not hiring people going forward that don't want to learn how to solder. I'm not going to get rid of the great people that I have that, just don't do that. They do other stuff in my business. But I know going forward, I'm not expecting you to do long screw damage, but I'm not going to hire somebody if they're not willing to try and learn basic soldering proficiency. Watching you inspired me to get into this, but damn, your gear is expensive in Canada. Yeah, try different brands. Try different brands. Maybe Metcal will be cheaper in Canada. Maybe somebody else will be cheaper in Canada. And the thing is, there's always going to be a new opportunity where one door closes, another one opens. So, like for example, let's just bring up the new MacBook Pro right now. There are a lot of doors that closed, but the other door that opened is that the SSD is soldered onto the motherboard. That gets rid of 90% of the places that exist that would charge people for data recovery by taking the drive out, plugging it into a little USB enclosure, and transferring the data. They're gone. Because now you have to fix the board to get the data out of it. But yeah, I think about it going forward, and I don't know. I think that a lot of the opportunities are eventually going to go away. I mean, just in our business alone, like 90% of it is cracked screen and water. The iPhone 7 can be dunked into water for 5 hours while it's on and still work. What does that do if your business focuses on iPhone data recovery? If Apple were to implement the exact same liquid proofing on their MacBooks that Lenovo did with the higher-end ThinkPad line just 5 or 10 years ago, I mean, what would that do to that business? If they were to have screens that were as durable as Motorola's, like I showed you the other day, you could take that Moto G that cost $150 and throw it at the wall over and over and over again, and you could throw it at the wall as many times. It doesn't break. The only time it broke is when I threw it at the wall as hard as I could, and it bounced into a pipe right behind it at just the right angle. Your apartment seems really small. It's kind of a clusterfuck. I do have to clean it. Actually, here's my apartment. Ready? That's where my cat goes to pee. And then when I get to the end, I can make a left, and then I have another room down there. So my apartment is shaped like an L. So what I showed you is one end of the L, and then behind this there's a kitchen, and then behind the camera where I didn't show you, there's a kitchen, and then there's a dining room. And then there's a walk-in closet, and then there's some other stuff, but I'm not moving the camera. You could play hockey in that. When I moved here, I remember I invited some people that I knew from high school. We actually had a football game. Like before I had the speakers and before I had the table and the bed, we actually had, because the ceilings here are 25 feet high. So with 25-foot high ceilings, we could actually have a football game here. I'm sure the neighbors love me. The neighbors just, for New York, that is gigantic. In New York, anything larger than a fucking closet is gigantic in New York. Lewis, show us the other side. No. That HDMI, this is about 77 feet long, and that HDMI cord is 20 feet long, so I will lose. I have to walk 77 feet that way to make a left. The one downside of this apartment that I will say is that when I actually have to walk to the bathroom, it's like I got to walk 75. Like at night, if you have a small apartment, like when I used to have a really tiny apartment, I would get up, I'd walk 5 steps, I'd be able to take a piss. Now I have to walk 77 feet to take a piss, and that sucks. That sucks. 70% mods, 30% watchers. Yep. What would you recommend for someone who's taking a year off before going to university to do? Should I travel, work, etc.? I would work. I would work. Get a job. There are things that you may want to do in college, but you're not going to really know until you get a job. Like if you get a job and you like what you do, you can then figure out what other positions they have available in the company or what that company needs, and then you can go to college for whatever it is that that company needs. Rather than think you know what you want to do, go to college, figure out once you've paid for the 4-year degree that it's a degree in something that is totally useless to society, and then find out that you're screwed. I'd be really careful about going to modern college. I'd honestly be really careful about going to modern college. Would you not live there if the ceilings were only 8 feet? Honestly, the first night that I slept here, I felt like I was scared, like a ghost was going to come and kill me or something. But like when I first moved here, it was like, wow, this place is huge. Like, I mean, there's a 3-second reverberation time in this apartment. It's just stupid. It's like you can still hear it 3 seconds later. But the downside is that after I got used to it, when I go anyplace else, I'm claustrophobic. Like when I walk into an acquaintance's apartment, I just feel like, oh, the walls are closing in on me. So this apartment spoiled the shit out of me. I moved here back when there was over 113 shootings a year in this neighborhood, so it was actually somewhat affordable. And now people don't shoot at each other anymore in this neighborhood as often, so it's not so affordable. Mm-hmm. Where's your bed? You don't sleep, do you? You caught me. I lied. There is no L at the end of the apartment. There is no runaround. I don't sleep. No, it isn't. Computer science isn't a waste. Computer science isn't a waste, but a lot of the things you can go to college for are a waste. You're exaggerating. 130 shootings. No, 113. And I would give you my zip code to confirm it, but then you'd kind of know where I live. And no, fuck that. Hey, you're still trying to get to the end of chat. Yes, and I'm failing. What is your honest opinion about Geek Squad? They suck. They've always sucked. They still do suck. How they're in business is beyond me. Have you gotten advice from mentors about how to fix your business to make more money? How have you learned to improve it? Yes. Most of the advice that I give on this channel is really advice that other people gave me. And you can decide for yourself whether it makes sense or not. Like somebody asked, how are you qualified? And it's like, I don't really care. Like I'm not applying for a job here. Listen to me or don't listen to me. I don't give a fuck if you can feed your family. I really don't. I just, if you want to take it, great. If you don't, then I don't care. Just for the hell of it, your brutal honesty is hilarious, but thanks, I got a Weller WHA900 last week, starting the first PCB manufacturer in Alaska. Wow. Do you own your apartment or do you pay rent? I pay rent like a sucker. Do you think you could start your same business right in 2017 with what you had the day you started years ago? Probably not. Probably not. It's there's a lot more. Yeah, it's a lot more saturated now. You need a much higher. You need more tools. You need more expertise. And obviously you need better marketing since you're competing with so many other people. Yeah, it would have been different. It would have been different. What are your thoughts on people who don't try to do anything and complain about how life isn't fair? I've always found the word fair to be kind of a bullshit word. And yeah, I mean, I would say that 85% of the time that I hear somebody use the word fair, they're using it to describe something that they don't personally like. And they're telling me how just because they don't personally like something that it's wrong. And people think the amount of money you're allowed to borrow to go to college goes up because the cost of college goes up. Actually, it's the exact opposite. College has raised tuition as a direct result of people being able to borrow more money for college. Precisely. Where's your desktop? I don't have a desktop. Who is Stuart Donna Rossman? You Googled me. Congratulations. There's nothing creepy about that. Everyone complains about college debt, but they're all mad at the banks, but they're not mad at the college that charged them that much. Yeah. Because $50,000 for a degree that doesn't allow you to get a job is just fine. It's society that's to blame. It's society. Why don't you have a desktop anymore? I don't really care to have one. Don't need it. When do you sleep? Never. I hang from the ceiling like a vampire. That's what that light fixture in the middle of the apartment is for. All right, I finally got to the end of the chat, so that's it for today. And as always, hopefully you learned something. Oh, there's one more. What do you have to say to the morons who get a gender studies degree? Well, what I usually say to the people who got a gender studies degree is as follows. And pay attention, because this is the exact same thing I want you to say. I want a bowl with brown rice, pinto and black beans, some onions, sofritas, pico de gallo, guacamole, lettuce, corn, hot sauce, and a couple of onions. That's what you say to people that got a gender studies degree.